1970 Lincoln Penny 1-cent coin with mint mark D and fine condition. The 1970 Lincoln Penny is a coin that subtly bridges to major eras in American coinage, transitioning from the post-to-wheat reverse era into a time of consistent design stability, while simultaneously acting as a snapshot of America's cultural and monetary landscape during the Vietnam War, space exploration, and economic upheaval. At first glance, it may seem like just another cent, but as you'll discover, this unassuming coin hides a multitude of nuances that have caught the eye of collectors for decades. Let's start with the historical backdrop. Minted at the Denver Mint in 1970, this penny was released during a tumultuous time in American history. The country was in the midst of the Vietnam War, the environmental movement was gaining traction, and the economy was beginning to feel the early tremors of inflation. During this time, the U.S. Mint was under pressure to continue producing coinage in massive quantities to support the expanding economy, but also to address growing concerns about the cost of production versus face value. While copper prices hadn't yet forced a change in composition, the rising value of metal would soon become a point of concern for the mint. The 1970 Lincoln cent continued the design introduced in 1959, featuring Victor David Brenner's famous bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The obverse is dominated by Lincoln's dignified profile facing right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1970 flanked by the small D mint mark just beneath it on the right. The Denver Mint produced over 2.8 billion of these coins, an enormous quantity, which would lead many to assume that all 1970 D pennies are common and not worth collecting. But that's where a deeper look changes everything. While most 1970 D Lincoln cents in circulated condition are indeed only worth face value, the story shifts dramatically when you examine condition, specific varieties, and errors. A 1970 D in fine condition is not difficult to come by, but as we climb the grading scale, the value jumps. In mint state grades, especially MS65 and higher with red coloration designated road, prices begin to increase noticeably. A red gem MS67 example, for instance, can fetch anywhere between $100 to $250, depending on the market and strike quality. But what really drives interest in the 1970 D are its varieties and errors. One of the most famous errors associated with this year, although primarily seen on the Philadelphia minted 1970 small date, still has caused some confusion among collectors trying to identify which coins are more valuable. While the small date variety isn't known for the Denver Mint, some errors specific to the 1970 D have made headlines. Examples include double dies, off-center strikes, clipped plankets, and B errors where a die break appears between the B and E of Liberty, making it look like an extra I. These anomalies increase the intrigue for collectors looking to build error sets or complete daily mint mark runs. Additionally, the Denver Mint was known for sharper strikes compared to Philadelphia, making some of the finer details on the 1970 D Lincoln cents quite appealing to those interested in design intricacies. The steps of the Lincoln Memorial, for example, are often more clearly defined, which plays a role in how coins are judged and valued at higher grades. As for collector interest, the 1970 D is a foundational piece for anyone looking to complete a Lincoln Memorial cent series. While it may not command the same headline-grabbing attention as the 1909 SVDB or the 1955 double die, its importance in rounding out a comprehensive collection can't be overstated. Numismatists often seek pristine examples with full red coloration and error coins with clean documentation and authentication from grading services like PCGS or NGC. In auctions, certified 1970 D Lincoln cents with top-tier conditions have consistently performed well. A PCGS MS67 RD sold for over $300 at one point due to exceptional luster and strike. More commonly, however, even circulated examples in higher conditions can command $5 to $15 if they show good detail and minimal wear. Error coins, depending on severity and visibility, can range from $20 to hundreds. The 1970 D Lincoln penny in fine condition is more than just pocket change. It's a portal into America's past, a showcase of design consistency, and a treasure trove for error hunters. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who just enjoys the thrill of the hunt, keeping an eye out for this modest yet historically significant coin can prove rewarding in more ways than one. 1960 for Lincoln penny 1-cent coin, without mint mark, and fine condition. Now let's rewind just a bit further in American history to a coin that arguably had even more reach and cultural resonance than 1960 for Lincoln penny, without a mint mark. Minted at the Philadelphia Mint, this coin saw production in a year bursting with historical significance. The Civil Rights Act was signed into law, the Beatles were taking over American radio waves, and the United States Mint was navigating one of the most demanding coin production eras of the 20th century. In fact, 1960 marks a special turning point in U.S. minting history. Due to widespread coin shortages triggered by the silver crisis, the U.S. Mint ramped up cent production like never before. While the Lincoln cent wasn't directly impacted by the silver shortage, the massive coin hoarding that took place affected all denominations, leading to unprecedented mintages for cents. Over 1.4 billion 1960 for Lincoln cents were struck at the Philadelphia Mint alone, not including Denver minted counterparts. The goal was to keep circulation fluid and consumer trust intact, and the penny was a crucial part of that economic strategy. Design-wise, this coin stayed true to the enduring look introduced by Victor David Brenner in 1909, with his detailed rendering of President Lincoln's bust on the obverse. The reverse continued to carry Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial, introduced 5 years earlier in 1959. But there's something about the 1960 for Lincoln cent that continues to stir nostalgic and historical interest. Maybe it's the date itself forever etched in American memory due to social, political, and cultural shifts. Or maybe it's the coin's role in representing the last breath of a more metal-rich cent before future economic factors led to major changes in composition by the 1980s. Unlike its Denver minted sibling, the 1960 for Philadelphia cent lacks a mint mark, which at the time was standard for coins minted in Philly. In fine condition, the 1960 for penny remains abundant and usually holds a value close to face value. However, things become more interesting when we evaluate condition, luster, and most importantly varieties and errors. The most sought-after error for this year is the 1960 for double die obverse DDO. These doubling errors manifest on the date, the word liberty, and even on In God We Trust. When verified and graded, these errors can be extremely valuable, with certain examples reaching into the hundreds of dollars. Also notable are coins with die breaks, retained cut errors, off-center strikes, and the beloved B varieties. Each of these adds layers of value to what would otherwise be a common cent. Collectors also admire the 1960 for Lincoln cent for its relatively high copper content. Like all pre-1980 to Lincoln cents, it contains 95% copper and 5% zinc, meaning each coin has a metal value greater than 1 cent during copper price spikes. Although it's illegal to melt down pennies for their metal, this intrinsic value does influence collector interest. In the world of numismatics, the 1960 for penny serves as a staple for beginners and a nostalgic callback for seasoned collectors. It's also frequently used in educational settings to teach new coin hunters how to spot doubling errors or evaluate wear. Due to the coin's age and copper composition, it also develops gorgeous natural toning, especially when stored in varying environmental conditions. Toned 1960 for pennies with vibrant blues, purples, or reds can fetch premium prices due to their aesthetic appeal alone. In auctions and private sales, uncirculated red examples certified at MS66 or MS67 can command between $75 to $200. Coins featuring popular errors like the DDO or off-center strikes can see values climb from $50 to well over $500, depending on clarity, error visibility, and grade. Even coins in fine condition, when possessing a dramatic error or beautiful toning, can significantly outpace their face value. So what does this mean for you, the collector? The 1960 for Lincoln penny, without a mint mark, represents one of the most collectible and accessible coins in American history. It's common enough for anyone to encounter, yet layered with opportunities for rare finds, meaningful history, and even potential profit. Whether tucked away in a family coin jar or shining bright in a professional display, this penny is a cornerstone of U.S. coinage that continues to hold its ground 1 cent at a time. And that wraps up today's deep dive into 2 legendary Lincoln cents. Whether it's the 1970 or the 1960 for Philadelphia issue, each coin offers far more than its face value suggests. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you've ever come across one of these in your collection, or if you're planning to go digging through your change jar tonight. Thanks for watching Coins Numismatic Series, where every coin has a story, and every story adds value.